Giorgio,
Here.
Crafty.
Is she coming or is she just excused?
I guess. What she said. She doesn't say. So she's out of town.
So you wanted the presentation or comment first? I think we just get the presentation.
Sure.
We're going to switch the public comment. We're going to do the presentation by Plant Ram before public comment. So we'll hold this to public comment until after the presentation. So Brian, floor is all yours.
Well, thank you very much. I feel weird
you're
with my
fine.
back
Don't
to the
worry
board. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Brian Kammeler. I am a partner with the accounting firm Plant Moran. We are the largest accounting firm in the state. We are the 15th largest in the country. I've been with the firm for 25 years, the entire time working with local units of government, just like you, some smaller and some bigger. For the last 20 years, these water and sewer models has been a big part of what I do for my clients for the firm. Probably 8 to 10, as many as 12 a year of these. The reason why we were hired is because your system for many years was not generating enough cash flow in order to pay its bills on its own. So a water and sewer system is considered an enterprise. Enterprise means like a business. And the idea is that user charges will pay for the entire service. So we're not trying to make money. We can't use water and sewer revenues to pay for police and fire. That's forbidden. All water and sewer revenue stays in a water and or sewer fund. Sometimes it's combined, sometimes they're separate. But the idea is the system will be self-maintaining. And unfortunately, here in Bruce Township, it wasn't. That is not terribly uncommon. Quite often when we are hired for such a project, that's the reason. And so it's not complicated. If you remember ninth grade algebra, we were trying to solve for x. We had all these variables and constants, and we would do the math to solve for x. That's really what water and sewer models are. The x being, what do we have to charge our customers, either on a fixed fee or on a per unit basis, or sometimes a hybrid of both. But what do we have to charge our customers in order for this system to have enough cash flow to pay its bills and to have enough money in the bank? What's enough money in the bank? Well, just the way this works, customers pay the township a little bit slower than the township pays its people and its vendors. So there has to be some money in the bank to cover that float period. There are capital improvements that are going to happen, whether they are planned or whether they're an emergency. And so we have to have X amount of money in the bank to cover those. And then debt service payments for existing bonds or other structured debt that the system might have. Those payments only happen twice a year. And so think of it like a bucket. We have to fill up the bucket, pay that once or twice a year payment. We empty the bucket, then we have to fill it back up again. So at any point in time, we'd like to have the next payment's worth in our bucket. So we build these models in order to cover those, and we do it over a 5, or in this case, a 10-year period, because what we don't want to do as a municipality is 1 year raise rates 80%, and then the next year cut them 10, and then the next year raise them 15. If you have those kind of spikes, it causes chaos in the marketplace. And residents do not like chaos, and neither do I. So by doing it over 10 years, we try to smooth it out so that you can grow accustomed to what the system has to do. And what the system has to do, quite honestly, is generate more money every year. It's not unlike any other thing in this world. It costs more today than it did yesterday. It will cost more tomorrow than it does today. And so water and sewer rates must go up. And my recommendation is they should go up every year. Now, I will tell you that Bruce Township is very similar to every municipality I've ever worked with in the sense that no municipality I have ever worked with thinks they pay the exact right amount for water and or sewer service, and not a single one thinks that they don't pay enough. Everybody thinks that we pay too much, and then we can point to one of our neighboring communities that they pay less than us. I can pick a community, throw a dart at a map, I can create the same circumstance everywhere we go. But the thing is that every system, and Bruce is no exception here, every system is unique with a different customer base, a different age. They've been maintained, the systems have been maintained at better or worse levels. The cost of buying water from the Great Lakes Water Authority is different community to community. It depends on how far you are away from the source of water. It depends on your elevation. If you're a higher elevation community, Great Lakes Water charges you more than if you were a lower elevation, because it costs money to pump water uphill versus let it flow downhill. So you really can't compare yourself to any of your neighbors because everybody's situation's different. But the beauty of the model is that it's just algebra. And as long as we are putting inputs into the model that are in the realm of reasonable, we're going to estimate that certain things are going to go up by 2%. Certain things are going to go up by 3% because we know they will. And we're going to sell so many units because we can look at history and we know that the system, in this case, is growing. You're adding customers. And so we can estimate an inflation factor for how many units you're going to buy and sell for the next 10 years. And we put all those things together and we just do ninth grade algebra and we come up with a number. And so that number is what I'm going to show you. But I mentioned earlier that you weren't generating enough cash flow. So how did you pay your bills if you didn't have enough cash flow? You were borrowing from other funds of the township. So general fund and a couple of the other funds, primarily general fund, were lending money to the water and sewer system. Perfectly legal, perfectly allowable, but over a longer period of time, it's not sustainable. And a water and sewer system has the ability to raise rates to whatever level is necessary to pay the costs. General fund and governmental operations in Michigan do not have that same ability. General fund and police and fire, public safety, very limited in the way that they can raise money. And so if you've got to get money from one place or another, it's better in the big picture, it is better to raise water and sewer rates and let those rates take care of water and sewer than it is for general fund to subsidize those operations. So a big part of this model is repaying the $1.8 million that water and sewer owes to general and other funds. But we're not doing it in 1 year. We're not doing it in 2 years. We're not doing it in 10 years. I think we settled on 16. So actually further than the model calculates. It didn't happen overnight, so we're not going to fix it overnight. So general fund and the other funds will get repaid over time as part of this raising rates a little bit every time. Needs to repay, got that. 10 years, got that. Okay, so I mentioned assumptions. We have to guesstimate how much some things are going to go up or down. So for most administrative costs, we just figure 3%. That's very close to what historic inflation in Michigan has been since 1994. The Great Lakes Water Authority has actually only been increasing your costs on average about 2% a year, and so we figure the same 2%. Your sewer is treated by the Village of Romeo. Your current arrangement with Romeo is $250,000 per year, plus or minus a true-up at the end of the year. And so we've estimated the true up to be an extra $10,000 every year. So $250 this year, $260 next, $270,000 the third year, and so on. And then you are a growing community. New people are moving here, houses are being built, buildings are going up, new customers are tapping into the system. That is good for all of you that are already here, because it's a game of margins. So if you have 1 million customers, you only have to make this much money on each unit over the 1 million customers in order to pay the bills that are fixed. But when you have a small community like you, those margins have to be bigger just to generate enough money. And so based on some things that are already in your budget, we're assuming a 15% annual increase to the water units that'll be bought and sold, and then 20 new sewer accounts per year. We also wanted to simplify the rate structure a bit. So if you look at your bill currently, if you're a water customer, I believe you've got 3 charges. If you're a sewer customer, you've got 2, or I might have that backwards, 2 and 3. But we are going to make water just 2 different charges. We're going to make sewer 1 charge. So for water, it will be a combination. I mentioned hybrid earlier, fixed plus variable. So you have one already, but it is going to go up. There will be a fixed component that is meant to cover the township's internal administrative costs that have to be shared by all the users of the system. To send you a bill, it costs 1 stamp. It doesn't matter if you use 1 million gallons or you use 1 drop. The stamp costs the same for everybody. The person reading the meters, the process, it all costs the same for everybody no matter how much you use. The debt is also going to be covered by that fixed charge. And then it will be adjusted every year based on how the budget goes up. Our 5-year forecast for administrative costs only is only 1% increase. So that fixed charge would go up 1% a year, every year for the next 10 years. And I should mention, the model's 10 years, but the township is not going to make a decision today or in the very near future that's going to lock you in for 10 years. The model is meant to be used as a living, breathing tool that can be used every year as part of the budget process. And so because I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I'd be playing the lottery and you'd never meet me. But I have to make some assumptions. I'm going to be wrong, but this gives you the opportunity to change the assumptions every year when you have new and better information. So the model says 1% per year, but next year things change. It could be 2. Next year things change. It could be half. I don't know. On the variable rate, $73.81 per unit, plus 4% a year. So that plus 4% a year will cover the increase from GLEWA. It'll cover a portion of the debt, some capital replacement, repairs and stuff that need to happen. And then on the sewer side, so your house, if you're on water, you have a water meter. We know exactly how much water you used because it flows through the meter spins, and it counts the units. You don't have that for sewer. No one is counting what comes out of your house. And so nobody has a sewer meter to calculate that. Many communities will calculate their sewer costs based on water under the assumption that, well, water came in, sewer went out, we'll assume it's the same. We know from doing irrigation or washing your car or filling your pool, that's not really the case. But in this case, one of the things that does make Bruce Township very unique is that your water and sewer customers, for the most part, are different. There's not a lot of commonality there. And so with the sewer charge, you're already paying a fixed component, actually 2 fixed components. We're just going to consolidate those and make it 1. If you are a single family household, you're considered 1 residential equivalency unit. If you're a business, there's a graduated scale that a car wash pays more than a hair salon, or a laundromat is going to pay more than pick a business that doesn't use water. And so, but if you're just a regular household, whether you're a single person, family of 2, family of 4, family of 10, if you're a household, you're going to pay 1 residential equivalency unit. That fixed fee is going to start at $82.72 per month and go up 2% per year. So this is a sample customer. It's as close to an average customer as we can estimate, just based on the assumption that a single family would be using approximately 3,000 gallons per month per person. This is a family of 4. And so I'm sorry, this is sewer. So this is just fixed. So on a fixed fee basis, you are currently paying under it was 3 charges. We're going to move it to 1. The 3 charges for sewer, you are currently paying $244.50 per quarter. It's only a $3.65 adjustment this year. And then the 2% thereafter on top of that. There is discussion, I don't know if it's final or not, about switching from a quarterly bill to a monthly bill. That is absolutely something that I would endorse. Quarterly bills are tough because you never expect it, and then all of a sudden you get it, and it's a pretty large bill, and you may not have been planning for it. But if it's a monthly bill, like your cell phone or your electric or your anything else, it's part of your budget, you're always thinking about it, and it's a more manageable check to cut once a month. And so assuming that that does happen, you'd be paying $82.72 per month for sewer. Ooh, I must have missed the water. There we are. For water, so you're currently paying a variable rate and a $20 minimum. We're going to change that up, as I mentioned. A water readiness to serve charge, that's a fixed charge. That covers administrative costs of the township, it covers debt service. And then you're going to have the variable rate, which you control by how much water you use. So if you like to take long showers, you like to water your lawn, you will pay more. And that's just fair. If you want to be the stinky kid who never takes a shower, then you will pay a lot less for your water. But this is, again, on a quarterly basis right now. That's the average person, the 3,000 gallons per month. Family of 4 is currently paying $361.65. There's going to be some sticker shock here because water has been the worst of the two about borrowing money, or has had to borrow the most money. And so there's a bigger amount to repay. And so that bill, quarterly bill for a family of 4 would go from $361 up to $592 a quarter. On a monthly basis, just under $200 per month for an average family of 4's water service. Keep in mind, this is paying for your current water that you're using, and it's paying for water that you've been using that, quite honestly, you haven't been paying enough for. The township has been undercharging based on the cost that the system incurs. And so now, over time, this will right size, and after the debt is repaid, then you would only be paying for the current costs of what you are using. But that is going to be, like I said, 16 years down the road. We've stretched out that repayment. I hear the murmuring. Yes, it is significant. But repaying $1.8 million on a system this small, it's going to take some time, and it will be an impactful increase. Sir, yes. I do not know that. I can figure that out and give that information to the board.
And so we're going from a $20 monthly
That's correct.
And that's the debt, stamp, the lady sending out the mail, all that stuff.
Correct.
So our water bill is only going up for $13 and some change.
Correct.
So,
But now your variable rate today, to the best of my knowledge, was not calculated the same way that I've calculated. And so you're not really comparing apples to apples. But if you look at the new proposed rate, that 237 does pay for the stamp and the person and all the other costs and the debt.
so someone that moves in today, Bruce Township, has to pay 10 years worth of that debt they didn't live with.
Correct.
And I've lived here for 3 years, and I'm paying back for the next 10 years the debt that I didn't water.
The system has to be funded.
So I think the township need that, not the residents, because it's not the residents' fault that we weren't charged the wrong amount. That's not our fault. So if, just an example, if you go to Chrysler and you get a car, you come to find out after you signed everything, you find out, oh, we charged you the wrong amount. Are you gonna be okay with them raising your price?
Sir, I understand completely, and
So that's what I'm saying, how come it's not here saying that they should pay, not us?
I'm not going to make that recommendation. I was asked to calculate what it would take in order to right-size the system, and so that's what we did.
Where's the data that supports the 237 or breaks it out?
It's all in the model. It's a fairly hairy Excel file that I will be turning over to the township. But it's all in there based on actual historic data that has gone through your annual audit, plus information received directly from Great Lakes Water and from Village of Romeo.
Is that data going to be shared with the residents?
That's up to the board.
Yeah, you will.
Now,
You have the right to FOIA it if you'd like.
last question. This is just residential. How much is Blue Water Trucking and other companies contributing towards, where's their amount?
That's a great question. The model does include a separate calculation for the RTS, the readiness to serve charge. So if you are on a 1-inch meter or smaller, 5/8, 3/4, as most residential units are, then you're paying this fixed charge. If you are a commercial property with a 2, 4, 6, 10-inch meter, there's a separate calculation. They will pay more based on the size of their meter. And it's just algebra and math to figure that out. The ratio of what you pay based on your meter size compared to a larger meter comes from the AWWA, the American Water and Wastewater Association.
Did you have anything to do with those new meters that were put in?
I have nothing to do with meters.
Peak times? and-
I have nothing to do with that.
Will we get that data? Is that in, anybody know about that yet?
That's more for the board.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anybody know about the off-peak hours that are being looked at? From the data that was received from the meters?
The data that you said you'd give us last year?
For the peak and off-peak hours, so like we can charge Great Lakes more?
We get charged one rate. We don't have peak and off-peak hours. We pay one rate. 40, well, let's wait for public comment. If you guys want to answer the board questions, let's get through the Plant Moran presentation, and we'll be more than happy to take it one at a time. We will need you to come up to the podium, because then the people at home can hear what's going on.
So this is the extent of what information I have to provide. I am happy to stay and answer questions. I don't know that I will have answers that you will like, but I will have answers. Would you like to proceed?
Yeah, if you could stay, that would be great. We take one more question for Plant, if it's based for Plant Moran, if you guys want to go ahead.
I have a question going back to the sewer rates. According to what we're looking at with our last bill, we weren't paying the 244. So I don't know if other folks here are, and somehow we were not, but being, maybe because we're city, water, sewer combined.
There you go.
So does ours go up to 244?
So, long story short, there were 3 ways of paying. You were water only, sewer only, or both. And there were very few both.
I think it's basically close. That's pretty much the only folks that are on both.
So the folks that are on both, they were paying for sewer based on the number of units of water that they used. But then you have two sets of sewer.
Flat rate, it was a flat rate.
It was a flat fee.
There's some metered charges.
There's not.
Only in our
about 20
business,
There's
yeah.
only about 20 users that use, what they use in water gets calculated. into sewer. Right, Amy? Hold on, one meeting, please. Amy, could you answer that?
It's only industrial people that have, some had the choice of having meter sewer. It's like one or two, Wilberfield, flat rate sewer, meter water.
So we were paying $60 a quarter.
What Amy said is that there's only one or two commercial customers that have the metered water going to their sewer.
Yeah. So these,
I don't know how that relates to what my question.
these are the costs that come directly out of your ordinance.
Okay. So if I was paying $150 for sewer, am I now paying $244?
You will pay $248.
$248, right?
Yes.
But we weren't paying $244 before.
No, we were not.
You will be paying
You
$248.
have this in your mouth. I mean,
Well,
because you're saying that my sewer rate's
Sewer
only
only.
going up $3. And no, my sewer rate's going up
Well,
100. And
sir, I didn't see your water bill.
you should have.
Yeah, you
You did the analysis.
There are a lot, there are,
Different variables. Okay,
This-
another question. Another question.
Well, hold on, let him answer one question
He
at
did,
a time.
so you didn't look at it.
well, I'm
Well,
not,
let him finish.
The sewer-only customers were paying $244.50 a month.
Right, but there are city sewer customers as well. And now all of a sudden, my sewer bill goes up by 40%?
every sewer customer will be treated the same.
50 as well, right?
In the model, it's up to the board whether or not they adopt that.
You should have been paying $244.50
Hey,
a month.
I'm not gonna explain that. I mean, but I
Okay.
have another question regarding.
What's your address, if you don't mind answering? So I can look,
No, I'll share that.
we'll share it offline after the meeting, okay?
And I'd like to get my bill. I asked if we had to go with it. We didn't have to go.
Okay.
Mine up right now.
So,
We have a sewer rate of serve fee of $45, a sewer debt reduction fee, which I'm assuming that's gonna go into the first part of the debt, correct? The water debt,
No, sewer and water are separate.
so there's a sewer water reduction fee, which is $51. So we're at, like, $96.
That's what that says, yes. And then there's also the per REU wastewater disposal service
You're
fee.
gonna flip the slide to the water because he's in Cloverfield, so he has sewer and then metered water.
see, that's not in us.
Okay, well, this is one of the unique aspects of Bruce is that you have many different
Well, it shouldn't,
types of bills. But now,
but it's not really.
I can tell you that we are looking to treat everyone the same.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able. you shouldn't
No,
be able-
if you use water, you get treated as water. If you use sewer, you'll get treated as sewer. If you use both, you'll be treated as both. But it's the same charge, it's the same basis, no matter what you are.
All right. My second question about the sewer is, it's a flat rate, correct?
Correct.
So as users come online, our cost per should be going down.
Well, it depends on the cost from Romeo, but yes, if you doubled in size and the cost from Romeo doesn't double, then yes, your rate would be better than it was before those people came in.
And so have you projected out what you've made some assumptions about 15% increase?
Yep, 20 new sewer customers every year.
Year. So have you projected that
That-
out in terms of where you think?
Yes, that's-
Sewer rates are going to be?
That's all part of it and why there is the 2% a year on the sewer, 4% a year on the water.
Brian, does this charge also include capital, capital fund, adding to that? Because right now, if you're pulling from the general fund, you're going to have maintenance, you're going to have other, because you mentioned
Yep.
it in your slides. So the model does base additional cost on that.
So it includes a cost for emergency replacements and regular maintenance. If there is a large-scale capital improvement that is decided on at some point, we have to put a new line down a certain street, or we've got to do slip lining under the whole system, that is not included here and would be an additional factor that would be added at the time that those projects happen.
When does the sewer debt reduction get paid?
It's the same 16 years as water.
We've already been paying. Some people
What-
are already paying that, that's already part of the consent.
Well, from this point in time forward is 16 years. Correct.
Take one more question for Plan Moran, and we're going to move on with the meeting.
Sir?
I got a question. When did this flag go up that we were in the rearage of paying the debt? We move out here, build houses, we're part of the community growth, and the price of everything is skyrocketing.
I can't answer that, sir.
I don't see that as benefiting me. And a lot of people in here who are on social security, who work part-time to pay bills, and it's getting worse. I didn't move out here to pay somebody else.
That's not even a question for Plan Moran, so can we just focus on what we're talking about, please? You have your 3 minutes at the podium in a few minutes. Just give us a chance to get through the presentation.
All right, I have a question. I've been here 6 months.
Okay?
Happy me. Have no idea about this water. My question is, when you're calculating this, and you're saying the average, or you're saying that every customer is going to pay at least $82.72 per month for the sewer.
Correct.
And then when we go to the water, if we can flip to that page, you're saying that we are going to pay $197.46 per month.
An average family of 4.
Okay. We're talking water usage and sewer. So I'm a person of 1. But let's assume I'm a family of 4. If I add the 197 and the 82.72, I can expect to pay $280.18 per month,
Correct.
no matter how much water I use.
No, not no matter how much. This is the water calculation is dependent on how much you use.
Okay.
So you will pay the readiness to serve charge of $79.06, whether you use 0 or 1 million gallons. The variable rate is what will change. If you have the greenest lawn in the township, you'll pay more than if your grass is burnt out.
With this new model, would we be allowed to have a separate meter for watering our lawn?
That's completely up to the township, yeah.
Okay. I'm new.
Yeah, it's an ordinance issue, and the cost of them, it's a whole thing, but it's possible, but I can't speak to that today.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Somebody in
Appreciate.
the back.
I know, we were done asking questions. Thanks a lot, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks, Brian.
presentation.
Thank you.
And then we'll take public comment and then for you, ask questions. It's good.
Have a surf trip home. You can if you want, yeah.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, that'd be great. You can sit over here if you want, or there.
Let's move you want to move the podium back?
Move the podium back here.
Yeah, we are. All right, we're going to move on to public comment. All right, right now, we're going to move on to public comment, so we would ask that you come up to the podium. You got to state your name and your address, please. And like we were asking before, please keep your comments to 3 minutes, if you could.
My name is Colin Emmett, owner of Emmett's Energy. It's 70945 Van Dyke, and I'm curious how you figure my sewer rates and what am I going to expect for an increase? in my rates. I'm paying $4,400 a year for 2 toilets.
So your sewer is based on square footage, and then we can show you how that's broken down. I think
Well,
it's
I
one
understand.
REU per
I guess I'm wondering
2,000
why.
square feet. How many square feet?
Where
do
did
you
that
have?
come? Yeah, for 2 toilets. Now, it used to be a factory. I understand that.
Right.
But I use minimal water, and I don't understand where that's fair.
So the fee schedule was made up on square footage, and it's based on different usages. Like Brian was mentioning, if you were a beauty salon and you had the same square footage, you would be paying a lot more. But being that you're a warehouse and a store or retail, you're paid on what the fee schedule is. We are planning on trying to look at the fee schedule to try to make it more in line, because it is a broader fee
It
schedule.
sure is.
But again, that's how it's been based.
Yeah,
And that was something that we had when we started here ourselves.
Right.
We are
But does that go back to when it was a factory? That was calculated back then?
Again, factory would fall under a different scenario, warehouse, factory, other than what you have in retail, sort of like Sheen is the same thing, retail groceries, so
But you are reconsidering?
we're going to look at it.
Okay. And then how many taps are available? I mean, there's a sewer issue, isn't there, with availability? What is available with the capacity of the current sewer system?
So one tap
Are your
is like,
hands tied?
well, like Brian was saying, that we have one residential equivalent unit is equal to 300 gallons a day.
Yeah.
That's one tap, and that's what they basically consider a residential unit, small family, whatever, averages 300 gallons a day. The factory, on the other hand, our taps are based on your square footage. And like I want to say, we have our factories that we have in our community with a warehouse in the back, that's one tap per 2,000 square feet. So if you have a 20 square foot building, a 20,000 square foot building, that would be 10 taps, and they would be charged accordingly. Same thing that you got going on where you're at. The bigger the building, the more square footage, the more you're being charged. It's how it's based on. Not how many toilets you got, and it's your usage pretty much. And we are limited on our flow. A tap is different than actually what we are putting through the treatment plant. Even though one tap may be 300 gallons a day, that doesn't necessarily, that's the necessary flow that's going to go down the drain. But we do have a meter at the treatment plant for the Village of Romeo, and we're currently running around 300,000 gallons a day through the treatment plant, upwards to 350, and we're only contracted to do 510,000 gallons a day.
Okay.
We have site plan approvals right now for people that are ready to put shovels in the ground to build buildings, that we're going to be using all that capacity up in the near future, in the real near future. The Village of Romeo, just to sell us another 100,000 gallons of sewer, they want to charge us $1.2 million. If you want to really complain to anybody, I think that would be a good start, because $1.2 million doesn't get us anything except, we're going to give you more sewer and charge you for the usage.
Right.
So that's where we're at. Where are we going to come up with $1.2 million? And that's that sewer ready to serve, the sewer debt, the water reduction. It's all about infrastructure changes, upgrades, improvements. When that water is blowing out of the ground and we got a water main repair, and you see these big machines out there and you're doing all this work, it's expensive. It's an expensive repair. And without having any money in the slush fund, there's a lot of people in this community that don't live on the sewer and water. They're going to be paying that bill, and it's not going to make them very happy.
I see it. Well, I hope there's some way of getting the reduction down on the sewer for everybody. But
Well, again, like I said, we buy our sewer from the Village of Romeo, so that's a good spot to start.
thank you.
Mr. Petrodi?
Yeah, my name is Chuck Pedrodi, and I live at 12570 Glasgow Drive, Romeo, Michigan. I think basically what our biggest problems are here is that we owe everything in Bruce Township to somebody else. We don't have anything of our own. We should have considered when we had the opportunity to put our waste treatment plant in, but it was turned down for some reason by the board. We had an opportunity to do that, get rid of Romeo. Eventually, that Bruce Township sign is not going to be there anymore. It's going to be Romeo. We can't provide the sewers for the industrial customers. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to annex Bruce Township like they did to Armada. We could have provided that sewer for Armada There's people on Powell Road, but we didn't, so they had to get it from Romeo. And guess what? Romeo annexed them. That's what's going to happen to Bruce Township when we don't have the sewer to give to these people. And Romeo knows that. That's why they're asking for 1.2 million, just for a couple thousand gallons more of sewer.
Right.
Who's going to pay for that? It's going to be the residents. Otherwise, we're going to lose our Bruce Township sign.
Thank you, Mr. Petrodi. Anybody else for public comment?
My name is Mike Fields. I'm Cloverfield, 71686 Julius Drive.
Hi, Mike.
Hello. I just want to know, you said the meters now are just one rate. You don't do the peak that you wanted to do before? What happened there?
We can start doing peak rates, and if we ever get a storage facility, that would be kind of nice, then we would be able to change our flow, our rates. But right now, currently, we get charged like a $46 per million cubic feet from Great Lakes water, whether it's peak time or non-peak time.
Didn't you say a year ago that was the whole point, and to see about with Great Lakes water, because they were using a lot of water at like midnight, 11 o'clock at night, and that was the whole point of putting in the meters for the $60 a quarter to see who uses how much peak and off-peak, so that way we know which avenue to go to charge more money?
Right.
Last
So,
year.
yeah, I mean, we still have our ordinances as far as what, I mean, it's only going to affect you guys if we start exceeding, it's,
No, I don't think-
exceeding our peak times, our peak flows. We got our ordinances on our watering and our lawn as far
I
as
think
when
it'll
we would.
benefit us, so we'll know when to not use water and who to go after that uses more water.
Well, you know the ordinance, it's from.
The ordinance of you can't water your grass is fine. I want numbers of who's using so we know who to charge. That's the whole point of the meters, you said.
Well, can you answer the question as to why you guys stated you were gonna put it in and now you're not?
The peak,
I guess I don't understand exactly the question.
the question
Last
is,
year, you sat up there and told us that you were installing these meters so you could track peak and non-peak usage, and that peak usage was the sole driver of our extra cost from Great Lakes Water.
So you're particular, I know exactly what you're talking about, one particular firm in particular that was driving our costs up before, which has been we've got that under control, and our rate is staying at a fixed rate right now at $46 per million cubic foot. It's the same as it was last year, and it's the same as basically it was, I think, actually came down from the year before. So yeah, we do have radios, and they're not meters, they're actually radios that we did install. We do have actual, the radios that go right to our office here. Our billing department does a great job of monitoring those. And we're able to track peak flows and non-peak flows through that system. And it is.
I just don't understand why you are stressing we need to find out peak and off-peak hours to charge more money to people that use on off-peak hours.
We can't charge anybody else a separate, you can't just target one person with a separate fee.
DTE does. They charge peak and off-peak hours.
Well, I mean, that's his right, but we can't do it as a municipality and a governing body. We got to charge everybody.
And with all these examples, when can we see how much, like, the nursing homes pay towards the, because they use, so many taps, and how much they're paying back towards the debt, and Great Lakes Water and the Dispo and all these other businesses, where can we see that amount of money of what they're paying back towards the debt?
Yeah, you're actually welcome to FOIA any of the information.
I'm saying, why isn't it here? Like, we want to see, like, apples to apples, like, how much are we paying, how much are they paying? Because it looks like we're getting screwed just as Cloverfield.
Your time's up right now, but you're welcome to come on in. I'll be able to provide you with any of the information. We didn't provide a breakdown on everybody's water usage and rates, but I can assure you that they're paying more than you are, and they're paying accordingly to what they are as far as they probably pay double in what their usage charge alone is from Great Lakes Water.
I know my time's up. My last question: do you think this is fair that us residents have to pay back that debt that we weren't here for?
So what about the residents that don't live on sewer and water? They're
That's
paying
fine and dandy.
also.
My question to you is: do you think it's fair to us residents to have to pay back the debt that we weren't living here and made?
Well, there's a sewer debt reduction
no,
for
sir?
every resident.
Yes or no,
I have
sir?
to say yes, it is fair because you're in the sewer district.
You think
I'm not
it's fair?
saying it. It's a model that is fixed up to pay back the sewer debt over a period
Mr.
of
Giorgio,
time.
do you think it's fair that we?
It's a debt that was incurred to put that structure in, that infrastructure in, and anybody that moves into that infrastructure has to pay that debt.
So would it be fair? I'm not going to do it, but if I were to put up a billboard and say, "Don't move here because you're going to get screwed by a water bill," would that be fair?
Yeah, that's fair for
Do you think it's fair we're getting
we have to pay.
No, I do not. I have a different set of arguments that some people don't agree with.
Thank you.
But my set of arguments I'll share with you.
Thank you. Do you agree, you do agree it's fair? Well,
So
I mean,
I'll give you a brief.
If you weren't living in the water and sewer district, if you were living on, let's say 37 Mile and Hip, and you didn't have nothing to do with the sewer and water, but your tax-paying dollars are going towards that infrastructure, do you think that's fair?
I would have known.
Would you
I would have known what my tax dollars were before I moved in.
Not necessarily.
Yes, they would tell
They
me.
become uncapped.
But I can
you
call.
really don't know
I can
what
call
they
and say,
are.
hey, I'm buying this house for $500,000. What are my estimated tax going to be? They'll say 6,000. I'll say, okay, I can handle that. I'm not going to move into Cloverfield and call and say, how much is my water bill going to be in 4 years? $6,000. Oh, I'm not moving in there. You're not going to get residents going to move in when they hear this. I mean, I'm not threatening.
No,
I own a
no, I know
pizzeria.
you're not.
I know how to make
you're
pizzas. I don't know how to do these models.
Right.
I'm not threatening, but we're going to have to get a lawyer. Something isn't right. Now, I'm not saying if it's with you guys or it's something, but something is not right and it's not fair. So if I have to pay for a lawyer out of my own pocket, I'm going to. We have to get a lawyer to fight for us because you guys are the township. You're not fighting for us. You're fighting us. You're not fighting for us. You're fighting us. You want our money for a pass. Don't laugh.
I'm not laughing.
You are
laughing.
laughing.
I'm laughing because I think
Hang
what
on.
you're saying is ridiculous.
Hang on a
Go
minute.
ahead.
Not everybody here is in agreement with what that
I
is.
respect
So
what you have to say. I get it.
fundamentally, I do agree with Frank that enterprise funds should stand on their own.
Okay.
But there
what
are
I'm trying to say.
circumstances in the township where we pay for things that benefit a few and everybody pays. Gypsy Moss, Limestone Roads, the tower that we bought. They benefit a select number of residents. So to make that argument that is it fair for everybody, well, we do things otherwise. The debt that was accumulated has been accumulated over the last 14 years. Most of the people that have joined on water have probably been the last 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think the board needs to think about when we think about the theoretical correct way, which is enterprise funds stand on their own. Number 2, an investment was made by this township when we put water in. The driving factor was to bring more industrial into the township. It didn't happen as fast as we wanted. Should the current residents be penalized for that? My opinion is no. Number 3, part of the blame for the rates having to go up this fast is by inaction by prior boards to raise the rates earlier, and our board itself. We didn't raise the rates until I think we were in office about 14 months. But we had other bigger issues that we were trying to handle. And I think this board's done a good job of handling the big issues. This is one maybe we should have got at faster. So those are 3 reasons that I think are reasons to not increase the rates to the model and to give some consideration in the right to the ready to serve rate, where the township, I think, the general fund should absorb part of that debt and not pass it on to the users that have just come on in the last 3 or 4 years. So that's my personal argument.
If I can say one thing, Mike, on your third point, I disagree with you. Yes, it did take us 14 months to raise those rates. But within those 14 months, we were trying to find out what was wrong. Mike was working day and night trying to find out the errors because people are only getting billed like 14 cents for a 3-month bill. And I know that's not their fault, but we were trying to figure out, and we were trying to fix the holes, plug the holes, and correct the problem without raising the rates for the residents. And it came to that point where we had no choice but to do it.
Yeah, we were.
And if I might add, the previous company that came in to do that study did it for free. They came up with a number, and the number was pretty damn close to what Plant Moran came up with, and we only raised it 70% versus the 130 or whatever that they wanted. I'm saying only because they said 140.
Right, but
And I'm saying we went half of that.
Everybody-
And again, we are a government entity. Anything that comes through here is a pass-through. We are not trying to make money on it. We are, like the man said, like Brian said, we are trying to create buckets in case, God forbid, an infrastructure breakdown in the pipe needs to be repaired, it would cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
But it's funny that you say only 70%. When Brian was saying, let me finish. When Brian was saying up there saying you do 10% this time, negative 15% this time, it causes chaos. What you have is chaos because
Right.
it was raised almost 80% or whatever it was. I mean, my wife and I, and now we're a family of 3, so that's more water. We were only paying roughly 250, 260
Right.
a quarter, and now we're paying almost 600.
I understand your frustration, and believe me, I'm just saying, we did try fixing these things without raising rates, and Mike Philbrook was one that was busting his butt because he understands water and how it works. He was out there almost day and night trying to figure this stuff out. And again, we had no choice but to go down the path that we went to.
But for
Go
a
ahead.
man who was working day and night, when one of the Cloverfield residents comes up to the podium and says, I talked with my financial guy, and he is telling me that I should move, and he asked for his response, he said, then you should move. That doesn't sound like somebody who's fighting.
I don't think, I would like to hear who's,
Said.
to
No,
who did
I said that.
I never said that.
I'm the one that said that.
Well-
And I apologize for that comment, but again, if your financial advisor is telling you something, then why do you go there for advice? That's all I was trying to say.
Live in a house for 5 years without getting charged a huge amount of money, to buy and sell.
This is a
You
town
have
hall,
to live
Mike.
there 5 years, so we gotta absorb the water bills for 5 years.
Okay, let's,
Just a quick question. Would our water bill go down if we had separate meters for our outdoor water usage?
I'm not.
so I'll answer that question. You're gonna have to, it's what they call an area maintenance meter is what they would call it, for your irrigation, maybe for washing your car, maybe something you might wanna put for your outside spigots. The problem is that by the time you pay for the meter and you pay for the install, you can do the math and see if it's gonna even be worth the cost of what you're gonna save. So you're more than welcome to look at that. We do not currently have an ordinance in place for an area maintenance meter, but it is something we're gonna be looking at. We do have it in our industrial corridor, so they have a separate meter for maintenance.
Because I'm so new, how do we present ideas to the board that we'd like you to consider that seem reasonable to us?
By coming to the meetings and speaking at public comment, we encourage that, we welcome that. And that's what we need to do. But again, you gotta understand, we can only do what's feasible to be able to be done. But yeah, we encourage that.
So we are looking into that, but there were a lot of other issues, like Frank had mentioned, that we went almost 3 years where people were only paying not even $1 a quarter for their water bill. The meters weren't being read properly, they weren't programmed properly. You had your chance, now it's somebody else's time.
I understand that.
We're gonna take a recess and we're gonna ask you to leave. If you don't wanna sit down, we appreciate it, just
I'm leaving anyway.
take a seat.
I'd much rather do something else.
You already had your 3 minutes.
You called and said, our water bill's wrong. You said, oh, no, it's right. Okay, I'm paying 14 cents. What do you want me to do?
Why are you telling us now? Come into the township, we'll get it squared
You
away.
did. And you said, oh, it's fine.
Who said that again? Again, you guys are putting words in our mouth. Thank you.
All right,
We are here every day to listen to whatever you guys got to say, and there's one thing that I cannot stand is somebody tells me that we're not doing our job. We work so hard for you guys, you've got no idea. We're tax-paying citizens the same as you are. We have bills, we live paycheck to paycheck, and I feel for you guys. And we're doing everything we can to try to make this as affordable as possible for you. We have a debt that we're incurring, and we're going in debt every day, and we need to figure it out. If you guys got better solutions other than saying we can't afford it, I don't know what to tell you. We're trying to find solutions, and we are, every second, every penny that we can recoup for whatever we needed to that wasn't being recouped before, that should have been done 13 years ago, we are on it now. We don't have one more leak in the bottom of our boat. We're floating, and we're not borrowing money out of the general fund like we were before. But we need to,
That's only, go ahead.
not every month.
We're not borrowing like we used to.
Right, we're not borrowing like he is.
But we have to have money in case there's an emergency and for repairs. We got an elevator switch in our elevator for our lift station just cost us just $1,600 for a stupid button in our elevator. I mean, these repairs are expensive.
We need a generator for the fire hall and the
That's
township
separate.
hall. That's gonna cost $130,000. We barely got the money for that.
We understand your frustrations and we're trying to do everything we can. but if you guys got any kind of a miracle that you can think that we haven't considered, I mean, I pay for a softener. You know what my softener costs me? $270 a quarter. That's $270 just for a softener. It doesn't even include my salt. I rent it. Doesn't include my well, or $10,000 and my well goes bad. Doesn't include my sediment filters. It doesn't include my septic field, and my septic field goes bad, which is another $10,000 to put a hole in the ground and put a septic field.
Those are ifs, though.
It's not ifs. I had to put a
irrelevant to this
septic field. Everybody
conversation.
builds a house, you would have put a $10,000 septic field, and your well would have been
If I may
$10,000.
make, if I may make a suggestion, we should probably get refocused on the
Yes,
subject today.
Yeah. And Mark Formicola, 71452 Dolores Cloverfield. My question is regarding the debt. You said that the debt started 13 years ago.
Actually longer. I want to say 2007 is actually when the meter started running.
Who holds the note on that debt? Who are we paying the debt back to?
We have a bond.
We do.
Who says nobody?
There's a bank that
And
we
again,
own.
why are you interrupting anyways? I mean, it's so rude. Who did that? At least stand up and say who was the one that interrupted, so we can at least look at and acknowledge the fact that you needed to make that comment. I mean, I'm sorry that I'm getting frustrated, but you have no idea how frustrating it is for us to try. We've worked in as hard as we can, and it's disrespectful. You guys have a utility that you need to pay. I know it's not the cheapest utility, but what utility is? I know what I pay for my cable. I know what I pay for my phone. This is so your toilet flushes and your crap goes away when it does. And I mean, it's nice to have that peace of mind. When you
But
open up your
newer
faucet,
residents
you've
didn't
got
know what
water.
we were paying for water because these rates were so far and above anything that
How long
we've
you lived in
experienced
Cloverfield?
since October. So, but these rates are so far above anything that you would have even thought to have asked about. I mean, I've lived in all over the Detroit area, 6 or 7 homes in the last 20 years. I've never even come close to anything. And I know, Plant Moran, I forget your name, you talk about it's not fair to compare rates, but there's extremes. If one community is paying, 2 cents a cubic foot and another community is paying 8 cents a cubic foot, I think that is significant. But I'll get to that in a second. My question was about the debt, and if we're just paying back the general fund, what happens if we default on that debt?
Well, I mean,
What if we don't pay it back?
I mean, it's
What
not-
happens to the community? What
I don't
happens
know
to you?
exactly. I don't know if they can foreclose on us or what. I don't have that answer.
Like who? That's why I asked who held the note. Does the bank hold the note?
Yeah, there's a bank that holds,
And they've been holding this note for 13 years?
It's a
There's
bond.
two pieces.
Take
There's
a-
two-
Okay,
There's two
and
pieces.
I only speak of ignorance here. I'm not saying I understand. I'm just trying to understand. Because maybe we should be negotiating with them as well.
Well, that bond is nearly almost paid off, but the other part of the equation.
I
that
don't
there are all the
understand that
property-
answer
all
then
the-
at all.
There were all the property, it's what we called an SAD, a Special Assessment District, and a lot of the property owners along that area, before you guys even moved it, and paid a huge part of that debt, 50% of the debt actually, and the township was on the hook for the other 50%. So there are property owners and businesses in this community that live or work in that industrial quarter that did pay 50% of that SAD off already.
I'm sorry, I don't quite follow you, but I kind of feel like you're not answering my question to the point
You
that
asked
we
me
should
who
be
the
paying
debt
back
was.
this debt like you're saying.
there's a bank that has the note, that holds the note. We don't know the bank offhand, but
You don't make a monthly payment?
we make bi-yearly payment, don't we? It's like done by.
Plan, you want to
Twice a year, yeah, maybe you
So
would.
when I say debt, it's a couple different pieces. So one is a bonded debt that, as I mentioned, you pay 1 principal payment a year, 2 interest payments a year. It's fixed over a period of time. That one only has so many years left, not very many. The rest of the debt is what the water fund and the sewer fund owe to the general fund and a couple of the other funds.
So-
You owe yourself, but there, you keep your money, you keep water separate from sewer, separate from general. It's like shoebox accounting. You've got to keep your shoeboxes separate. So one shoebox owes another one. And so one of the options, and Mr. Tremblay mentioned it, was that it's possible for the general fund to forgive the debt of water and or sewer. That is a possibility.
Well, I would suggest we consider that very strongly.
I think it is considered.
All right.
It's one
All
of
right.
many.
My other question regarding the 237 is pretty much what, in regarding water, that's what we're all talking about here. The variable rate didn't change from Great Lakes, you know, so the 237 is really what we're talking about. You also mentioned a number of times having money in the bank. So of the 237, how much is really going towards the debt, which is what I have to put it in air quotes now, it seems like, and how much is going towards emergency funds of, you know, infrastructure repair? Is that broken out in any way?
It is.
Brian?
I have to go back.
Brian, I think we discussed this number yesterday, and I think if I wrote it down correctly, it was $171 of that goes to service the debt, including the
Okay.
back to the general fund.
All right. Okay. And then I have one other question regarding Great Lakes rates and blue water. We do pay a very, very high Great Lakes rate, and we all can acknowledge that. I don't know if there's anyone from Blue Water here, but one of the things that I have found strange since our first meeting back last October was if your business is strictly selling water, why would you be operating in the most expensive municipality in Southeast Michigan?
Their business isn't strictly just water. They have a large trucking business where they deliver stuff to the plant that I work at.
But it's water.
No.
Oh, okay.
They're an assembly plant. They are contracted.
It's a trucking company.
A lot of parts to.
Okay,
the plant.
thank you.
They have a seasonal business where they're filling multiple tankers.
Right.
And apparently Bruce Township had to put a limit. You can only fill how many?
We've
tankers?
changed that, since that's something that's changed since last year, it's not as, the way it used to be. We've got the fixed rate that we've sat down with Great Lakes, and now they've realized that we have this issue along with some other communities that have the same kind of pool services where they fill trucks and puts them over on their peak time. So they're holding us at our flat rate right now, that we're at $46 per million cubic feet, which is good. You know, so, and he is paying a lot more than you guys are paying, I think over double for your water.
See that, or is that not public?
It's public information. You guys come into my office, you come see me, I'm here during the week. Anytime you call me, I'll come out to your house. I mean, I'll make it my point and make it clear that I give you any information you want, but yeah, I can show you exactly what he pays as public information.
No, I don't know what percent of his business is selling water, but I certainly wouldn't be filling up my trucks in the most expensive water in the Tri-County area. I find that to be very odd. I'd move.
Right.
Trust me, my comments were not to,
No.
defend him, but the
Right.
plant that I work at, I see Blue Water trucking, trucks come in and out daily. That is
He's right, that water
a
is
major
probably
part of their
a tenth
business,
of his
but
business.
you gotta think their trucks, their tankers are huge though.
Let me just, and one thing about Blue Water really quick, and you got to understand, the more users that we get on this system and the more water that the users use, the more it gets spread out per user. So you have a huge, huge user in the summertime of your water that's paying into that debt. That really does help everybody out. So just keep that in consideration. I would encourage his business and encourage him to keep selling water.
Yeah, so Mike Odell, 71673 Julius Drive, Cloverfield Village. Last October, and I believe he touched on that point, is the biggest point of conversation was the equation that Great Lakes Water uses to set our rates, right? And one of the big variables is the peak time and non-peak time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So one of our
I don't think that's
resident.
quite right. I think it's the peak usage, right? The peak
In
usage.
July to the end of August.
But it's the peak usage, right? Not the
Which
peak
is-
usage on a during time. Just the peak usage whenever that is.
Okay.
They take an average and it's based on a calculation. Here's a calculation sheet right here. And it shows right here is exactly what we're charged is $46.26 per million cubic feet of water.
Gotcha.
You're welcome to take a look
Yeah.
at this if you want.
So one of our residents, and I don't believe he was able to make it, or else he would probably be asking, and I believe he was in contact with Tremblay and Philbrook with this exact quote from Great Lakes Water Authority. The demands that the township places on GLWA's water system compared to its water purchases in average daily conditions are the highest of any member partner in GLWA's water system. The negotiated maximum daily demand is 7.4 times its average day, and the negotiated peak hour demand is over 13 times its average daily use based on available data. GLWA believes that this is due to the seasonal demand of a single high-volume commercial customer located in the township.
Well, they can.
That is directly from GLWA.
Right, and when was that statement from?
I can give you the exact date. I'll reach out to AJ and we will get that
Just
to you.
approximately, is that like over a year ago?
Well, and that's kind of my thing. You said you guys have got the peak usage under control, correct?
Right, yeah, as of right now, it looks like we do, right?
Yeah, this was, it refreshed on me. I can get you the exact day.
I have the
when
20
he reached out. But my question is when you touched on we have these radios that alert you to peak usage, what is the response to the people who are setting off that alarm? Is it just someone rolls out of bed and sends a text, hey, so-and-so, turn off your water, you know? Or, yeah, sorry, I don't mean to swear because it's not really good, but is it just you roll over in bed and you send a text message or what?
It's basically, we did have a meter reader. I mean, I know you don't realize, but there's a guy that used to walk around in your subdivision and read
No,
your
I know
meter.
how they read meters. They drive around if you have the RFID one, or they physically have to walk up to your meter.
Which they
I
did at
understand
your
how that
house.
it
I mean,
works.
we're living in the Stone Age by doing it. The proper way to do it is to have the radios.
The
Each
RFID,
meter has a
yes.
radio, and the radio actually goes through the internet or through the airwaves, and we pick up the signal here. We don't send nobody out in the field no more. We don't have nobody driving around. Again, it's to save money and to try to become more efficient. Also, that meter, if there's excessive flow that's not normal in your household, it's going to alert us to say, well, maybe you got a broken water line. Maybe you went to Florida for the wintertime, and it's like, yeah, let's go
That's
check it
not
out.
answering the question. What is the response when that meter goes off, when that alarm goes off? Hey, somebody is violating the peak or non-peak hours, whatever. What is the response from the township?
There's nothing that we can do. I mean, the response basically
But does
is,
it alert you to who it is?
it does alert, no, it does not. It alerts us that we have exceeded our peak flows for the day.
Then that doesn't really help us.
Right. But now that we've got radios, we can actually pinpoint every customer and find out who exceeded or who's using heavy water.
So the answer is yes. Now we know. We can pinpoint.
For hour by hour, right, exactly.
If it is a certain commercial customer or
But
a
again, what
residential
point are you getting,
customer.
Mike? I don't understand when we have a fixed rate that we're staying with for
Because
2
we have
years
to
now.
leverage the input that goes into GLWA's equation,
To
correct?
do what? To try to control our rate?
Yes.
And that's what I just said. We've got our rate right now under control, at least currently, where we can at least stay where we're at, which
That's
is a
what I
good
asked,
thing.
and you're kind of jumping around. When I said, do we know at this current time if that alarm is triggered, if it's a commercial resident or a commercial business or a resident? At first you said no, and then we had to talk a little bit more, and then
I
you
guess
finally
I gotta
said,
just
now we have
understand
the
the question.
capability.
Right.
That was the question. Do we know?
2 items here.
So you said yes.
Right, well, the alarm that goes off is from Great Lakes Water. It's in their meter pit. It's when they send us an alarm that we got more flow going through our meter than we should be doing during the day, I guess, or what they
I got you.
consider
And
to
you
be
said
normal.
now you have radios that will tell you
Who's doing it.
is using it.
Right.
That was the question. So it's a yes.
Again, like you guys are going to point the finger at one particular user, and again, you need to
No,
be assured that he's
That's
a
not
good
the whole
user
point
on our
of these
system.
questions.
I think it's just for clarification.
It's for clarification.
Okay.
Because listen, if you have so much water that is coming through this township, who is eating the chunk? Who is using the most water? It's simple.
Right.
The real solution is to get more users, so
I
that
understand
peak
that.
usage levels out.
Yes.
That's the answer to the problem.
But the thing is, like everybody knows.
We got 100 and some units that are going up.
Yeah, you only have about what?
170 units.
Yeah, 100 currently is 100. Yeah, last year it was only 70 residents, right?
But there's
And now it's
170
100.
more units going across the street from you guys.
Okay, so it should
Eventually.
level off. I get it.
It's going to help.
And you
Over
said
time.
this debt has been incurring for 14 years, so now we're trying to do something about it. We commend you for that. I mean, we got to fix it, right? But you got to have all the data. Just saying, all right, we're going to fix it now, but if not, it's going to repeat itself. You have to know how, who's eating your lunch.
But the user's paying for water. They're
I
paying
get
for
that,
the
I get that, but
water.
if they're
weren't paying
driving, if they're
before.
driving the rate, if they're causing you to lose your leverage in negotiating with GLWA, then what good are they to you? If they're constantly driving that function to spit out a higher rate for you guys that you then have to distribute to everybody else,
Right.
then they're only hurting you.
Exactly,
Right?
but we've got that problem right now currently
Okay.
is resolved. There's no issues there right
That's
now.
all I want to know. You have the peak rate under control now,
Right,
so you will have leverage in the future to say, hey, GLWA, can you stop bending me over? We got our peak usage in check. That's all I wanted to
I think
know.
there's a little misconception about negotiating with GLWA.
I understand they're bigger than you. They're bigger than
no,
us.
No, they tell us what our rate's gonna be, and then we have to prove where you're wrong. And most of the time,
Right.
not.
And you don't have that leverage now because somebody or some certain people have been blowing your metric out of the water, right? Our peak usage, 7.4 times the daily usage, 13 times whatever. That's bad. You shouldn't be a multiple of anything in their metric.
You keep going on about the same issue. Why are you going to keep repeating? We understand what you're saying. We've right now currently got it under control. It's one more thing that we've been trying
That's
to do.
all I asked.
I'll tell you
Well,
another.
he had something to chime in.
That guy at this
I get
peak
you.
user you were talking about, there was an issue there where he was only paying $1,000 a month for a $6,000 water bill. That was another thing that took us a while to get figured out and to get it straightened around.
That's all I need to understand, that you have peak usage under control and you know who's violating the peak usage. That's all I
All right.
wanted to know. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I just want to say that some people have been under the assumption that there's peak hours that you can use your water. But what I'm hearing tonight is that's not true. Whether I run it at midnight, 7 in the morning, I'm paying the same rate for the water, correct?
Right now, we have an overall average on what we're paying for our water usage, but again, we do have our ordinances. It's not just from us, but it's also for Great Lakes Water that they have to, with them flowing their pumps and everything else, and it's all part of the equation. And like I said, and I think whoever just mentioned it, we are given the rate Frank just mentioned from Great Lakes Water. They dictate to us. We don't really even have much grounds to.
All I want to know is, are there certain hours of the day that it's costing me more to do water?
No.
Is there a restriction?
All of
Yeah,
your
there is a
water
restriction.
Same rate, no matter if it's
Yeah,
midnight or noon or anything.
Okay.
Well, restrictions on irrigation and, yeah, your usage is inside of your house. I mean, we have restrictions across the board in the whole township. But you can't, I mean, you want to take 5 showers a day, there's no restrictions.
No, all right, like watering your lawns.
Yeah, there's restrictions. We have an ordinance on lawn water, and it's basically for the whole equation for Great Lakes Water in general.
Okay.
So, yes, ma'am.
Leanne Havner, 71668 Julius Drive, Cloverfield. I don't think we're upset that we have to pay utilities. We would all be stupid if we were sitting here arguing about paying a water bill. Our biggest issue is paying the debt back. Like, I can take 6 showers and I will pay for that water. I have kids that take showers multiple times a day. I don't mind that, but if we're going back to the debt that's 13 years old, none of us lived here. And to bring on more people is the solution. Who's going to want to come here and pay a $700 water bill? And it's not because of our usage, it's because we're paying the debt back. How are you going to entice new families to move here into the township
I think there's.
if they're coming onto water? If that's what your goal is, I would love to add more people on so that is spread out. But how are you going to do that when we're all struggling with wrapping our head around paying back this huge debt we had no idea even existed?
I think across most municipalities, maybe Brian can even emphasize on this, I think there is the sewer or water debt reduction almost in every municipality that you have for infrastructure upgrades and changes
Okay.
that may occur even while you're.
Okay,
You're
but the water debt, because you guys weren't charging the rate, not you guys, prior. I did call. I talked to whoever answers your phone, and I said, my usage for the last 3 months went backwards. I have a 0 negative bill. Can I pay a bill? Please tell me. Nope, don't worry about it. So again, I called to let you guys know something is wrong.
Right.
I can't go back in usage.
Do you know what was wrong? That was what we were trying to determine what was wrong.
Okay, that's
But we-
fine.
we-
But you're saying we just like, oh yeah, hey, I'm not paying water. No, I called you. I called you twice.
We know there were a lot
Just
of
to make
people that
sure.
called.
We understand, we appreciate
Okay, so but
that.
you're also like, how you're saying we're on you, you're also getting on us that way too.
We're not getting on you. We're just saying that was part of the part that occurred at that because there are
Exactly, and now we
people.
fixed it. We understand. Everybody's
there.
getting billed correctly.
Yeah. Right.
Again, I don't think we're up here arguing with you that we have to pay water. Everybody knows that. We chose to move here on city water. It's the debt part paying it back that we're upset about.
Right.
Thank you.
And I called about my water bill, and it was like $34.
Do you want to come to the, why don't you come to the podium if you want to speak, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, my name's Julie Bedone. I live at 71515 Sarah Drive in Cloverfield. I also called about my water bill because it was ridiculously low, which I was very happy about. But to those of you that they just forgave it, I paid $200 and some for like 6 weeks. So maybe you'd like to forgive that. I don't know. I just think that we need to have black and white, clear understanding of what different situations and scenarios are occurring. Maybe we can come up with a solution that you haven't thought of. It's possible. I've been here 6 months. I sure as H don't think I should have to pay for debts that were incurred. I think that somebody should have forewarned people that were moving in what was happening. What about the people that lived here and moved? Why not charge them for some of this? I mean, we can't pay it. What are you going to do if we can't pay our bill? I'm on fixed income. I'm sure there's other people that are too. Social Security. Guess what? How much do you think they raise our rates or our COLA or whatever? Let's think about it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Kassler, 70288 Hillside Court. I have a well and we pay for our sewage. My question, from what I'm understanding, there isn't a mechanism in place right now to separate how much water usage with this new bills coming up. They're all going to be per resident, no matter. My question, no matter how many live in the home or how much water usage, because I have a well, we don't have sprinkler system. So is that looked at in terms of the sewage, the water because if they have a flat rate of how much, well, this house is like the next door house, when you have a well, takes the water away. But because there's no mechanism to see how much water goes out the sewer, and we don't have a sprinkler system, is that, I know it's kind of a specific question, but I
So
think
your
there's
rate
other
is
people.
basically $80 a month is what you pay to get rid of your sewage. To flush your toilet or dump things down the drain, whatever you need to do, $80 a month. That's all. You're rated, with the new rate plan that Brian just came up with, is going to go up $2.
Okay.
To get rid, I mean, you know how nice it would be? I mean, have you ever been over anybody's house where their septic field is backed up?
Yes.
To their house? So you know
Yes.
what that's like.
That's
To
why
be able
we
to
didn't
flush your
want
toilet
that.
for $80 a month and know that you don't have to worry about that. And
Right.
if it is, there is an issue, it is the township's responsibility and liability that needs to be corrected and probably incur the cost of having your house cleaned up.
Well, for us to hook up with the sewage, we've been in the home 16 years, and for us to hook up with the sewage, it was $7,000. Okay.
Right.
That was back in whatever, '06, I think, or '07.
Okay.
So my question, though,
It
is
seems really high because we don't charge that much right now.
those that do have sprinkler systems, and because there's not a mechanism to, a separate meter, is that still being considered?
Well, we can change our ordinance around, we would get what we call metered sewer. So what you do get charged for your water, you would be charged for your sewer. But instead, it's a flat rate fixed fee right now, what they're currently paying.
But they're not going to do it individually.
No, you're on, you can't, yeah, you can't do it because you only have well water. And we could put a meter in
But
on
am
your.
I being charged as much as the person next door that is hooked up to, that does have water, the same amount of water going out to the sewer?
Everybody in your cell would be on a well.
Right.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah, if you're on a well, all you get charged is a flat rate for sewage fee.
Yeah.
I mean, another good example is, I mean, I live on a road and I see one guy's got one bag out by the road of garbage, and then the guy that's got 4 kids has got 8 bags out there and a couch and maybe a mattress. This guy's paying as much as this guy is paying with one bag. It doesn't matter. It's a whole system. We got to look at the whole picture, and it's unfortunate that that's the way it is. I don't feel it's fair sometimes, myself personally. But we have to, we got our bill to pay, and like Frank was saying, we're not profiting off this. We're just trying to just stay afloat and just be able to keep your system running efficiently and effectively.
My last question, and this is more of a comment, I guess. I know Great Lakes had some water main breaks, in Port Huron area, that whole area. I know you're not, probably able to answer this, but it seems like it kind of coincides with these hikes.
No doubt about it. Somebody's paying for it down the line one way or the other. So yeah, you're right. It's all part of the rate that they're charging us.
Hi, I'm Neil McMichael, 13535 Lucas in Cloverfield. And I agree with the comments people made earlier about the water usage during the middle of the night was supposed to be cheaper, is what we were told. And we, definitely use our water during the night. If we're going to, even the dishwasher, we run that during the middle of the night. And the occasion we do run the sprinklers, we run in the middle of the night because we were told it was going to be cheaper at that time, just so we know that was actually stated at an earlier meeting. The other thing I wanted to talk about, we mentioned it earlier when the gentleman from Plant Moran was talking. We'd like to get a formal copy of the actual model that was used and the data and the assumptions that were used, so we can look at that so we understand it.
We got your address. I'll make sure I drop a copy off to you personally. I'll bring
Thank
it
you.
out to you first thing on Monday morning, okay?
Thank you. And the last thing I'd like to mention was you mentioned that we did work with Blue Water to make sure they're paying the proper rate. Now, you just took care of that within the last year recently.
So all of our industrial users all pay the same rate. It just depends on how much water they use. If they pay more, but we cannot charge like Blue Water more than we can like for rolling coal or for Van Dyke gas. They all have to pay the same rate.
That was the
they're
concern.
paying, I think, either 10 cents a cubic foot or 11 cents a cubic foot. I think you guys are around 7 cents a cubic foot.
Exactly. That was the concern a lot of the residents had, that we were all paying the same thing and they're using so much. And like the gentleman from Plant Moran said, they got this big pipe with the water going out and we've got this little 1 inch or less pipe going into our homes.
But you can look at him as maybe, he's like 500 residents because that's about the amount of water he uses. So we're trying to spread the costs out, even though it doesn't seem like it, but it is helping in the long run, so.
All right. Yeah, if you could drop that off, that would be great.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you, Mike.
Neil, I will. Thank you.
Thanks, team.
Hi, Joel Goff, 13128 Savannah Drive, new to Cloverfield. So,
What's your name again?
Joel Goff.
Thank you.
So you just mentioned the 11 cents and the 7 cents for commercial versus residential. I was just wondering if that is like equivalent to what Great Lakes Water charges us as far as the premium that goes into having the high rate usage, the highest daily rate. So we're paying some premium, right, due to the Blue Water trucking or the one consumer that has high usage. Is that equivalent to the difference in the cubic foot rate that we are paying?
We're not paying as much as we used to Great Lakes Water. It hasn't changed a lot, but I mean, it is lower than it used to be, so I don't even know if we're at the highest rate anymore like we were before. We were out of I don't even remember, 93, 61 users.
61 cents.
Out of 93 users, but right now we're paying instead of $61, we're paying $46 a million cubic feet.
Okay.
So we're going the other way, and it just, again, I don't know and understand. I mean, I've been in the infrastructure and water business for probably nearly almost 40 years, to be honest with you. And I still don't understand some of the metrics in which the way that they calculate things and figure it. It just seems so ungodly unfair what we get charged, myself.
Okay. Yeah, I was just making sure that there was some correlation between what Great Lakes Water is saying our premium is because of the high usage commercial consumers, right? And that's the same as what we're charging people, right? The 11 cents and the 7 cents. That's the question, that the gap that I didn't know about those usage rates. So
Right. They don't know how, I mean, believe me, they know almost every residential user we have and almost every commercial user and how much everybody's kind of using. They've got it down to a T. I mean, that's one thing that they definitely do is research into it. I mean, it seems like our own private business more than anything, but again, they don't calculate individual rates differently for industrial user or a residential user. It's all one flat rate today.
right, but there's some chunk of that 46, right? That rate that they determine that is higher because of the commercial users, right? So is it equal? Because
Here, why don't you want to look at a sheet here, take this and sit down and I'll talk to you in 10 minutes and see if you can figure it out. Okay. There you go.
That's my only question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're running out of people, everybody's leaving. They were doing really good or really bad. Anybody else?
I got a question.
Sure.
71532 Julius Drive, Culver. My questions to the Plant Moran.
What's your name?
Name, please.
Yes. How does,
What was your name?
pardon me?
Your name?
Oh, I said Ray Monroe.
Okay. Hey, Ray.
How does Hamtramck have a $21 million debt and expect everybody to pay it off?
It's not Hamtramck.
Do you know about that?
It's not
Everybody's-
Hamtramck.
Highland Park.
It's Highland Park.
Okay, I was close. How does that happen?
Well, that was something.
No, I mean, I know, I'm trying to get an understanding. We're at what, 1.2 mil? Okay. And they're like 21 million, and all of a sudden, it's died in conversation in the media. We don't hear nothing about it. So that's why I'm asking you. How do you make stuff like that go away without killing the community?
Highland Park still owes that money to Village Water.
And none of us have to pay it, that was determined. But we don't have to pay that.
charge or other municipalities.
Exactly, and everybody knows that, and then all of a sudden it died in the media, and then you didn't hear nothing about it.
That because I think some people in Macomb County fought.
And the governor's
that-
office.
And the governor's office fought that issue, and they proved their point that other municipalities shouldn't have to pay that tax.
So is that kind of like
That's what?
me moving?
A judge
Would
ruled
that be like me
in our
moving?
favor.
Yeah.
Right.
So would that kind of like me moving here, and I've been here not even 2 years, and then I slowly get wind of this high water bill that's creeping around until summer gets here and spring, and then everybody starts talking about cloverleaf. We all start hearing about, but how do we get dragged into paying the debt? That's that, you stop and think. The people that, if they're running the council of water, they would know what they're doing. You got inherited it, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not fun sitting there
not.
being you.
No, it's not.
Shelby
I get
Township
that.
just,
But it's definitely not fun sitting out here.
I totally agree.
so Shelby
So-
Township just put in I think it was a $15 million water storage facility. You see it right on the freeway on
Yeah.
24 Mile Road.
Yeah,
It was
I
at
see
the cost
that.
of $15 million. You don't think that the residents and the taxpayers had to pay that?
No, I get all that. What I'm saying is, how does the previous administration lose sight of water increases, and then a lot of people here with me too, fixed income,
Right.
gotta sit here and pick up the tab.
Well, I understand.
I mean, we didn't hear that coming out here when I was building the house, because my builder never said a damn thing about it.
I didn't hear about it until we took office.
Yeah, so,
So, but to what Mike just said, that $15 million that the city of, or the township of Shelby.
yeah, that's
Placed
right.
in their backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing's gonna happen to any resident that moves to Shelby. They're gonna have to start paying.
And I understand, I lived there 30 years and I came out here, but I didn't see this coming.
But at least they're aware of it because they see what was built.
Yeah.
We're all kind of blindsided, and I think you guys agreed that.
But I think
You
I'm,
didn't know it, we didn't know it.
Right.
I think I'm leaning toward, the question I'm leaning towards is they built that with a millage, am I right? On a
I
vote?
believe so, yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, I mean,
how do we take away the pain of the bill and still get it paid in a different way? Because I'm going to the bank with the answer, and like, how do I get out of paying all this or paying a high amount of it and spread it out easily? I mean, you make a choice of years to pay it off. I mean, I don't know, I didn't get a vote on that, but who does? And
that's what a millage does, basically. A millage is
I
on
know
your taxes
that.
every year.
I
You
know
pay
that.
so much, and it's over a period of 10
don't you
years.
think
whatever the case might be.
don't you think the water bill note, paying that off for what, 10 years? Is that what, or 16? 16. Can you go more than that and thin it out, or no? Is there bylaws?
No, you could make it 5 years, you could make it 50.
I mean, it's just like a road. I mean, our governor just blends it in, and we'll fix every road, and then the millage is so thin because we took it out for 30 years. I don't know. I'm asking. I mean, because I don't know if you guys are all paying it, but my wife's not happy. Huh?
The point of contention here is the debt. Everyone agrees
Yeah.
that's the debt, and these are gonna continue to come up.
Why don't we talk one person at a time, and Gary, is Gary right?
Oh, okay.
You can
But
come up to the podium and just-
anyway, the loophole in this whole thing too is annual increases. Those are going to go, not going to go away, they're going to go up. They don't go down. So that's all I'm asking. Is there another way to make this debt easier on people in the community? I don't know. I don't know what your options are. I'm asking you. I mean, because I'll tell you what, it's a lot of money. I know that.
Right.
I mean, then you don't get something else because you're paying water bills. And then you're going to lose people. Because my wife's already said, I can go to Tennessee and live there build a house cheaper down there. You know, and I've been down there, but God, I didn't move out of here 2 years ago to deal with this. You know, and you're going through it. I don't know if you all live here, but
No, you have to.
okay, well,
All right, thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Consideration, I guess.
Pete Sockowitz, 71137 Oak Tree Lane. I guess for all the residents that are left and everything like that, I think when I listen to Mike Trombley, to me, it makes some sense to look at the general fund and the debt. It's driven a lot by that, I believe, okay? Unless it's a solvency issue with the township, I don't understand why some of that pain can't be mitigated to all the residents. I don't see anybody in here that's not on sewer or water. The residents and the argument that the rest of the community shouldn't have to bear that burden doesn't make sense to me.
Pete, really quick, Pete. I think that the point being is that the debt was paid out of the general fund. Everybody in the community, people that have wells and
Nobody
septic-
is here from the community.
Right, but they.
You didn't get a letter
we-
for one thing.
Right.
Well,
And what I'm saying is that everybody's paid into that general fund, and we're paying a debt to the sewer and water.
Right.
Those people.
No, I understand why and where it's coming from, Mike,
Right.
but the problem is that a lot of the residents weren't here, okay? They haven't been paying their taxes for 10 or 15 or 20 years, okay? They haven't been around. And you're asking all those individuals to bear the brunt of the burden for the payback of the general fund. Unless it's a solvency issue with the township, whether you want to pay it back or not, if you don't need to, you at least need to consider some form of, maybe not all of it, maybe half of it, whatever the case may be, okay, to lessen the burden on the residents that are taking on all of that responsibility, whether it was a responsibility or not. That's just my opinion, okay? It's not, you're telling me that you don't have to. There's a proposal and there's been discussion that you don't have to necessarily pay the general fund back. So it's got to be something you can do. So you guys need to consider it. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. It can be something in between, because everything I've heard tonight indicates that a lot of the residents are bearing the brunt of this debt moving forward that haven't even been here, okay, for very long, for that 13, 14, or 15 years.
Right. Thanks, Pete.
I know I talked, I just have a question, like,
You gotta come up to, for the people at home, please.
sorry, Leanne Havner, 71668 Julius Drive. Besides you, we are all residents, so where are the businesses? Aren't they upset about this too? Like, have you heard from any of them?
He's here.
No, I said besides.
Twice if I knew my sewer.
Right, so you're just sewer, but we have, other than Great Lakes or Blue Water Trucking, we have other businesses on water, right?
Everyone that's on the water and sewer system were sent a letter.
Okay.
If they're not here,
No, and you can't force them here, but have you heard any feedback from them? Like, they have to be hurting too.
You really only have one industrial user that's a big user, because the others just have toilets and sinks.
Okay, so they're not connected, but they're gonna have to pay.
We're talking about water.
But they're
Yeah,
gonna have
I
to pay the
understand
debt back, right? So like, they're paying more, we didn't see that model, but they're going to pay more of this debt back than us as a residential customer.
A lot of those
I would be fit to be tied if I was a business owner here.
So a lot of those property owners that are on our industrial quarter on 33 Mile, they paid into that SAD at so much per foot or so much per acre. So these businesses have already paid in order to have water and sewer into the community, to prosper and to have a better, more, I guess, efficient, more lucrative business.
Right.
So they paid for that infrastructure to go in the ground back in the day already, and now they're paying the debt off after paying for half of it
Correct, so
originally.
I mean, the way you just explained it to me, because I didn't know that, I would be like, why am I paying for this again? Like, I already paid for this once. So, I mean, I'm just asking as a residential customer, like, have they reached out to you? I mean, unless their rate is the same as ours, but we didn't get to see that information, so.
You're paying for the infrastructure, the next group of people that just moved in the
Right.
community might be paying for water storage facility, and next
Again,
group.
just looking at the debt part of it, like, our water bills are going up $230 to pay back that variable, or that fixed rate. Like, how much more are they paying in a business? I know you just had sewer, but again, you're the only business here. I can't imagine that they're not upset about it. Maybe we should solicit them and get them here. I don't know.
Frank said everybody got a notice.
Right.
In the whole
I'm just
industrial.
asking, the question is, have any of those businesses complained about this to you guys?
No.
Other than Mr. Emmett here, but that's it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I got one quick question. Everybody's asking.
Well, not
about this.
recently, though.
I just had a 33% increase in sewer 2 years ago, close to that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm wondering, Colin Emmett,
Yep.
Emmett's Energy. And what am I going to expect based upon square footage, 2 toilets? What am I going to expect for my increase with what it's not a formula for business in the Platte Moran plan. So didn't show anything about.
Sewer only, I don't think it's going to
commercial.
make that big of a
What's
difference.
that?
The sewer, you're on sewer
Yeah,
only, it's not going to be
right.
that big of a difference.
But
Colin,
it's going up, so everybody.
What was it, $3?
$2 for one REU.
Less than 2%.
Well, $3 for
Less than 2%.
$4,400. It'll only go up $3 a month.
I don't know, I have to, it's going up $2 per resident equivalent unit, I think it is, per quarter. $2 per quarter, which comes out to, what is that, a month?
Okay.
70 cents, less than 70 cents a month. But if you have 10 resident equivalent units, then 70 cents times 10 a year would go up $7 a month, or $21 a quarter. And we need to figure it out, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, not substantial, that's, the water is the big issue. Right, am I correct by saying? Anybody else? The guy in the green, I thought they did. Yeah, I thought it looked like,
This is just gonna be a statement.
Gary.
Gary Upton,
My eyes aren't.
13221 Hannah Drive. We've sat through every one of these meetings with you guys, with many others. This meeting is going to continue to be contentious because of the past debt that is thrown on us. Whatever the solution needs to be or can be, it needs to be fixed because it's going to continue to be a fight. We should not have to pay someone else's debt. Bottom line. We came in here new, wanting a new house, and we're paying someone else's debt. It shouldn't happen. What you're talking about with the city, the Sterling Heights, they knew that was going in.
Shelby.
We did not know about this all happening until recently. So we got to find a way to work through this together, not you just throwing it in our lap.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Thanks.
So again, like we were saying, thanks to everybody for your comments, appreciate it. This is basically just for discussion, we're not voting on anything right now. I want to thank Plant Moran, I think that they did a lot of work, they've answered a lot of our questions, he's been working on it, it's 3 months now, back and forth. This is only a recommendation, does not mean that that's something that we have to actually accept, as far as the rate increase or the structure that he's presented. And it, just between you guys and us, we have thought about trying to forgive some of the previous debt. It's caused some controversy between our own board members because some of us are on sewer and water and some of us are on well and septic tanks, and we don't feel that we should be paying back the debt. So again, it's something that we're listening to what you guys have to say and how maybe going to make the determination when it does come time to make a decision. But I want to thank everybody for coming out. Neil, I'll see you on Monday if you're still here with that paper.
When will that decision be made? Like, when can we reconvene this and know, like, what you're going to vote on?
We may have it on the agenda next month. We might not have it on at all. We might just sit on it for a while. I think that we have our current increase that you guys have just accepted from us recently, and I feel really bad about that, but that was half of what was currently recommended as far as they wanted us to increase our rates for. I mean, I don't feel that we're doing as bad as things were before. We're not going in debt like we were before, especially when we're giving away free water. So just keep an eye on the agenda, on the website, for it to be on the agenda.
I just have one thing to ask. What does Great Lakes tell you about the wearage? What does them? I mean, how do they present?
We don't owe it to Great Lakes.
We don't owe them anything. What they charge us.
We paid the bill out of the general fund. We have a certain amount of money in our savings account. We paid out of our savings account that everybody's paid into. None sewer and water users at the same time, so. Okay.
Hopefully we'll have another meeting.
One more question, we're going to wrap it up tonight.
Not a question, well, I guess it is.
Podium.
Podium, please.
Is it possible?
Podium.
Come on. People at home can't hear you.
Yeah. They can't hear you from there.
Is it possible to reconvene with possible solutions that the residents come up with before you make your final decision?
I mean, I'd prefer not to have another town hall, but I mean, I would definitely take suggestions if you guys, if you have an HOA where you guys meet at an HOA and you guys come up with the suggestions. I mean, we know that it's a matter of how much you're going to want to pay. It's, at one point you're going to pay too much, you're not going to pay enough. I mean, that's the whole key.
But there might be different ways to get this debt paid off, maybe.
I have no idea how you would determine.
Right, right. But when it's coming out of our pockets, we're going to do some heavy thinking about it. And we'd like to be able to present that to you prior to you making a decision to maybe go full force with this.
Right.
You can contact any of us anytime.
So the best way is maybe a group could have a chairperson approach you with what we come up with.
Well, ideas, we talked to the guys. I talked to Gary, and I know AJ and stuff.
Okay.
Subdivision. We got Rick Baird. He's now on our, he's a ZBA alternative. He lives in your subdivision. We're easy to reach. I got a cell phone. I'll give you a cell phone. It goes right to this phone, but I don't answer it all the time.
Okay.
But I will call you back. It's not a problem.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. At this time, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:16.
Second.
Support by Tremblay, first, and then all in favor? Aye.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Sorry, I don't mean to.